Well, you can't talk about the history of women in chess without talking about the incredible accomplishments of the Polgár sisters.
No question. I mean, they had an outsized contribution to women in chess. And when I think about the Polgars, somehow I kind of grew up with them. It was like there was Susan, there was Judith, there was Sofia. And it wasn't just that they were breaking records, they were destroying the records that had previously existed. And I think that the oldest, Susan, was really a trailblazer for the Polgars, for Judith, and for Sofia, that she really could carry the sins and, just force open the doors. And I remember that I was thinking to myself how fantastic it was that there's these three sisters who were playing really well and were doing all of these wonderful things. And it felt like the Hungarian Chess Federation behaved as if they were cursed to have these girls and like where to put them. Should they be allowed in the male championship? Should they be allowed on the open Olympiad teams? And it was like the Hungarian Chess Federation, the Communist Party, just seemed to hate the girls. They really had a lot of difficulties in their chess careers.
Yeah, and there was so much resistance. I was a huge admirer of them coming up, particularly Judith's games. I would try to really, emulate the openings she played,
Exactly.
open Sicilians. Like, I just loved seeing her games
and the attacks and the tactics.
But I noticed like a lot of the commentary would just like focus on the fact that they trained so hard. It was like, they're not talented, they just study all the time.
Right.
It didn't really make any sense because of course anybody who reached that level trained hard.
Right.
And a lot of people were trying to point them out as exceptions to the rule.
Right.
Whereas in reality, what they proved is that anybody with hard work, and well, obviously that's another debate. I'm sure you need some talent as well, especially to reach the 2,700 heights that Judit did.
Right.
But it really showed that if you treat girls the same way that you treat boys, as somebody who has unlimited intellectual capacity, if they have the passion and the drive, then the sky's the limit. And that's what Laszlo did. It set both parents.
Indeed. And then there was also this idea that, like they were tainted, like they were autistic or something. They were just, somehow they had this chess bug genetic gene. And in truth, they were all like born polyglots, Hungarian, Russian, English. They just took languages and they were really smart and they were funny and they were engaging. And they were, all of the press that they were getting, all of the criticisms that they were getting, the moment you sat down and had a 3-minute conversation, you just had to completely rewire whatever image you had because it was wrong. It was just absolutely wrong. And for me, especially, even though Susan was extraordinarily strong and came into the world's top 100, it was actually the youngest, Judith, that got into the top 10, became a candidate's world championship player. And there the question was, well, like, Judith, as well as the Polgars themselves, they eschewed female events. They wanted to play against male players, male competitors. And it was only, I'm trying to remember, but I think it was Thessaloniki, 1988, that for the first time, they played all together on the Hungarian team in the Olympiad.
Yeah, that's right. I think Judith was about 12 years old at the time, and she was just scorching people left and right. There was one little miniature she played in that tournament that I just showed to the girls at the scouting merit badge competition, where she played Queen takes F8,
bam,
Bishop H6, Rook E8 mate. Just really just stunning and inspiring play from Judith, which so many generations of girls grow up looking at her games and being inspired by her.
Right.
And now, of course, we have Susan Polgár in St. Louis area with Webster University.
Right. And many-time national champion there. Yeah.
And so it's part of history, but it's not just history. They're also continuing to make history. Judith is retired from competition, but she's involved in so many projects as well.
Exactly.
And it's just one of the great stories of chess about how, if you have enough support from your parents, you can ignore the other obstacles in your way.
Right.
Like you mentioned the federation, the Hungarian Chess Federation, and just the expectation that women couldn't be as good as men.
Right. The middle sister, Sofia, she was kind of misplaced, so to speak. But what a lot of people don't realize about Sofia is that she had one of the greatest TPRs, tournament performance rating of all time.
Yes,
she played in an open tournament and just scorched the competition.
Rome.
Yeah.
Yes, in Rome.
And scored an amazing 9.5 out of 11 or something like that.
I think it was 8.5 out of 9.
Yeah, close to a 3,000 result. And when you think about all of the Polgars and all of the great performances that they had, that was probably one of the best ever. It was just incredibly funny.
I think I've seen interviews where Susan claims that Sofia was actually the most talented in some ways, and she became an artist as well. Okay. So just a really incredible story and family.
I know, of course, that Sofia married and moved to Israel. Yona, her husband, doctor. And it was sort of like, she didn't pursue her chess career, not in the way and fashion that Judith really, I want to say, dedicated herself. Judith really worked hard on her game.
She did, and you have a story that you sometimes tell in our broadcasts about Judith being Garry Kasparov for the first time, as that was a momentous thing in chess history.
Yes.
We still haven't had a female who's won the world championship, but we do have a female who beat the world champion. And we have a female who beat the number. I guess Garry was she beat Garry, and she also beat Magnus Carlsen in a tournament. So she's beat all the top players in the world.
Exactly, and the story was, of course, in 2002. It was USSR or Russia. It was Russia versus the rest of the world, and I was actually the team captain for the rest of the world team. And you would play these rapid games, 4 rapid games over 4 days, and so on. And I took Judith out of the lineup. Oh, she was so angry at me. She was like, oof. And I said, Judith, and I don't want you to come to the game, Judith, but I want you to work with Victor Korchnoi, and just prepare yourself. Bring as much energy as you can for your game with Garry Kasparov. She was like so mad. She was so mad. And she destroyed him. She absolutely crushed him. And I was standing right behind her at the time that Garry resigned. They shook hands. She stood up, she turned around, and she jumped into my arms. And I'm holding her like this, and she's looking directly at me, and she goes, I'm back in business, right?
Yeah, baby.
She wants to play the next day. Yeah, baby. You know it, absolutely. And wow, talk about a competitor.
Yes, well, thank you for making that contribution to the Women's World Chess Championships. Not to women in chess.
Yeah.
Of course, it was Judith who gets the credit, but you get a little bit of credit for making the call.
No, Victor worked hard, and Judith did it all. Oh my goodness, it was a thrill just to be a part of that history. And by the way, we were playing in Moscow, and we won. We beat the Russians. It was Russia versus the rest of the world. The most subdued, quiet closing ceremony ever. The Russian audience was not very enthusiastic about our victory. Judith got a lot of applause too,
I bet he did. And it's funny that since then, Garry Kasparov has been pretty active in promoting girls and women in chess. His namesake foundation, the Kasparov Chess Foundation, actually runs this wildly successful event in conjunction with U.S. Chess and Renaissance Chess Nights, the all-girls nationals in Chicago each year.
Right.
So that's like one of the big trademark Garry events. And I think it actually started around 2002. It's been around for about 15 years now, so maybe a few years later.
Yeah.
But it's funny, perhaps that victory, he was like,
I'm not sure it's dedicated to her victory over Garry. We'll have to ask him.
Okay.
You will get a confirmation there.